Hi guys, Phil from Tech for Techs. Today we're going to be looking at this. This is Bullguard Internet Security. It's the new 2019 version. It also includes a new game booster mode, and what we're going to do today is see if this game booster mode actually does what it's supposed to do, and that is make the games run smoother and basically give you a better frame rate. So keep tuned and we'll have a look and see what we can get out of it. Hi everyone, as I said before, today we're looking at Bullguard Internet Security, and we're going to also have a look at the new game mode, what's actually in there, and it's called Game Booster. So that basically improves your frames per second in games, and we'll see if it actually works, because there's a lot of software out there which say, oh yeah, run this and it'll increase the amount of memory and speed your machine up and so forth, and they very rarely ever do anything. So it'll be interesting to see if this actually does what it says it will do. Right, let's open Bullguard up first of all. There we go. Once we open it up, as you can see, we are greeted with all the separate areas from antivirus, firewall, vulnerabilities, backup, game booster, PC tune-up, parental control, and two grayed out areas, which is identity protection and home network scanner, which you have to upgrade and pay extra for if you want those facilities. But all the other things are included in the internet security. It works pretty simple. You can see at the bottom what version you've got down here, so we can see it's version 19 for 2019, which is going to be next year, and you can also see the email address it's registered to, and if you click on there it will take you to your account on their website where you can have a look how many machines it's installed on, renew and stuff like that. At top right you've got settings and update. It does update automatically. You can set it up to update whenever you want, so every hour or two or whenever. So first of all we've got antivirus. So if you look at the antivirus, you have the button, what was the last button what was pressed, which was settings, but you also have a drop down so you can do a quick scan, for example. And as you can see, when you do a scan, it runs within itself, so you haven't got another pop-up popping up on the screen all over the place. It all keeps it neat and tidy in the same program and in the same window. I'll just stop that for now. You can do full scan. You've got custom scan on there, so you can tell it which drive you want to actually scan or so forth. You've also got in there your quarantine list and also settings, which will take you to the main settings page, which will go in more depth in a few minutes. Firewall, again, as you can see there, it's on and there's a nice green tick saying it's on. You've got a drop down on there, you've got manage the rules, you've got logs, you've got network activity, and you've also got settings. So you can obviously see in the logs what's being blocked, what's not being blocked, IP addresses, and all these different things in there. You've also got your rules, so you can allow or disable things if you wish, but that's obviously up to you. Vulnerability scanner, this will do things like checking to see if you've got the latest Windows updates, as well as a few other things. Again, on here you've got a drop down, you've got status and settings. So if you go into status, for example, it'll come up and tell you, okay, you got the name of our Wi-Fi router there, it's secure, auto run programs, removable devices turned off, not checking any Windows updates. The reason why that's disabled or turned off is because we use the managed update software, so we plan that ourselves. But basically in most cases you'd have that option turned on, so it would make sure you've got the latest Windows updates. But again, next up is backup. Again, you've got a drop down, you've got add, start, manage profiles, restore your data, and so forth. The option for online drive, they have actually withdrawn their online service, so there is no online backup directly through Bullguard. But saying that, you can actually let's have a look. Manage profiles. Let's add a new profile. Call it Phil. Okay, you can actually choose what you want to back up, but where you can back it up, you can go to the Bullguard online drive, which I'm not sure why it's actually showing that, because apparently it's been disabled or it's no longer available. But you can also back up to Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, or you can choose an external hard drive, USB or network drive, something like a NAS or another machine, depending on how you've got it set up. You can set up when, so you can do it on a specific schedule. You can choose weekly, daily, monthly and so forth. And you can also choose how you do it, so you can synchronize it, compress it, you can even encrypt it, so it gives you a rough idea. Okay, I'm back on the main screen. Next you've got the game booster, which is the bit we're going to be talking about in a bit, and see what sort of performance we've got. Some nice charts to show you how good it actually performed, but in basics it actually does what it says, which is actually surprising, because it's not often you see software which actually improves the performance of your computer, and especially when it comes down to gaming. But we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But the basics is, you can again, you've got a drop down with the settings and my games. As you can see in there, you can see some of the games we've got it set up for, what we've been testing and trying, and it actually picks them all up with no problem. Next up, you've got the PC tune-up. So this will basically optimize your machine, get rid of all these temporary files and stuff like that. Again, you've got a drop down, you've got helper, get rid of duplicate files, you've got a boot manager, so you can disable things starting on the machine if you wish, settings. The basics is, if you want to click on optimize, it'll go through the machine and basically check to see what needs doing and so forth. And as you can see that, I'm going to cancel, well, actually let's let it go through, it's nearly done. As you can see, it's going through absolutely everything. It's already told us that browser cache we can basically remove 378 megabytes of rubbish. Windows cleanup, 101 megabytes of rubbish out of 25 gigabytes. I'm guessing that's because we've disabled the recycle bin from being cleaned. Yes, it is. So if I was to tick the recycle bin and press apply, then it would actually remove 25 gigabytes of rubbish. Right, so that's that bit done. Parental control, I don't think this section has been changed or altered much in the last few years. I've been through it and it looks pretty much the same, but again, it's one of these things what it's basically to protect your kids online and stuff like that. If they try and install something, it'll ask you for a password and stuff like that. The only thing we gain with these parental controls is most kids find a way past them. They either watch what you're doing and they find out what your password is and stuff like that. So they are, to be honest, most of the times either the parents get fed up with the parental control being turned on, or B, the kid actually manages to find out a way past the parental control, which usually just, requires them getting hold of the password again. But again, you have got the settings in there and so forth. Again, these sections here, identity and home network, that's if you want to upgrade or you buy their premium package. But obviously that's up to you if you go down that route. But the internet security version, which we are running, does not come with those two sections. So okay, so at the top you've got update. You can see when it was last updated 58 minutes ago. Let's go into the settings. On the settings at the top, there's a basic mode and an advanced mode. Obviously advanced mode gives you more options, but on the general main page you can see your username, you can change the user, it tells you how many days you've got left. You can go to your online account, you can add a license code in to add more time on. One of the good things about this I've found is with Bullguard is if you do renew the product, so let's just say you manage to get a hold of another disc from a retail store, so you get a hold of the disc and you think, oh, I don't want to put the code in yet because I'm going to lose the 30 days I've got left. Doesn't matter, put the code in and it adds on top of what you've got. That's unlike some of the other security stuff programs out there. When you do renew, it renews you and starts your time from that day. So if you had 30 days left, you'd lose the remaining 30 days. This actually adds on top, so that is an actual bonus. Otherwise, under there, under the main section, you can do run at Windows Startup, minimize. You can actually minimize the notifications there, so it will only show very important notifications. So hopefully that will disable one of the two pop-ups you get, which is saying discount here, discount there, and so forth. You've got your proxy settings and stuff. Again, most people won't need to mess about with any of that, but again, it is there if needed. You've got updates, so you can change it to check for updates automatically. If you wanted to do it manually for whatever reason, you can do that. You can set it to check every hour or once every 24 hours. You can do it silent, or show notifications, or warn if updates are so many days old. So for example, if you were to go on holiday and come back, as soon as you start the machine up, it'll pop up saying warning, your security is out of date. Some people have actually mistaken this, thinking that it means the subscription's out of date. We have found in the past, but it actually means that basically because you've not been online for so many days, it needs to do all the updates. It should do these automatically, but if you click on the warning, it will then actually do them manually when you click on it as well. Also on here you've got settings for antivirus. Again, well, you can turn the antivirus off at the top there, so for any reason you were installing something for whatever reason says you need to turn the antivirus off, you can do that. You can also do that under all the other sections like firewall, vulnerability, backup and so forth if you wish. You can set your security level. It's on optimized at the moment, or optimal should I say, but you can also put it on higher or lower depending on how much protection you actually want, so minimal or maximum and so forth. You can turn off sections of it, so if you don't want it to scan emails, or you don't want it to scan web traffic or files, you can disable each of those. You've also got profiles there you can mess about with. Under the actions, you've got actions to perform. It'll fix the file, or you can block the file. Tune in. Again, when you're actually doing a scan, you can tell it to skip specific files or locations, like don't scan CD drives, DVDs, or network or anything like that. But obviously that's up to you if you want to do that. In most cases you leave that as it is. Next part, you've got all the other bits like spyware detection and stuff you can disable and so forth. Again, that's up to you. Safe browsing. This will basically show safe results on websites, as it says Google, Bing, Yahoo, Facebook. So when you do actually go on to Google and you do a search, it'll come up with a nice little green tick next to the search result saying that this is safe. Obviously, if it's not safe, it comes up with an exclamation mark or a warning sign. Under firewall, again, you've got on and off at the top. You've got automatically create rules and all that. If you go into the security section, you configure it for different things like trusted hosts and so forth if it is blocking anything. You've also got vulnerabilities, so this will actually allows you to turn off the warnings if, for example, your wireless network is not safe, if it's got automatically run programs from removable drives, so it stops doing any auto runs. Windows updates, again, we've got that disabled because we sort out our updates through RMM tool, so it will not affect this. We've actually turned off the actual warnings, and it'll also check for digitally signed device drivers to make sure your drivers for your components in your machine are actually digitally signed, which basically means are correct or official. You've also got a backup section, which we mentioned before and went into, where you can manage your profiles, create backups and so forth. Game Booster does have a few options, as well as turning the main thing on and off. You've got display Game Booster widget while being played. So basically what happens is, in the background behind the game, you get a little box that pops up saying Game Booster is running. A lot of times you don't actually see it because the game won't let you go to the desktop mode, so you may see it sometimes just as you're closing the game or something along that line on the desktop. You also get like a little joypad icon on the actual Bullguard logo, what will be down by your clock at the bottom right hand corner of the screen, but it may be hidden in the hidden area down there, so you may not necessarily see that. But you've also got a few other options on there, so it's up to you obviously which ones you turn on and off. We left it at the default settings as that is, so we basically tested it how it was out of the box. You've also got your PC tune-up settings, so you can tell it which bits you want it to delete and clean and so forth. and then you've got your parental control again. So that's basically the whole of the program, how it works. What I'll do in a few minutes is bring up obviously the charts and show you how the game mode went ahead and how it worked. Okay, before we show you the results, just tell you how basically game mode works. What it actually does, it basically optimizes the machine and puts all basically your running programs on your first or your second logical core or logical processor on your computer. Unfortunately, this means it will only work on machines that have got 4 logical processors, also known as 4 threads. So if you've got an i3 processor which is dual core but only has 2 threads or 2 logical processors, it will not work. If you've got an i3 which is dual core but has got 4 threads or 4 logical processors, then it will work. Again, it should work on most i5s and i7s, but again, some models of laptops are only dual core, even though that might be an i7 or i5, and it may only have 2 threads or 2 logical processors. So you need to make sure you've got 4 logical processors. If you're unsure in your machine if you've got one or not, it's pretty straightforward to find out. You just right click on your taskbar at the bottom and go to Task Manager. You'll get a screen like this coming up, and then you go to where it says Performance. In there you can see all your disk information stuff, and you can see down here it tells you your base speed of your processor, how many sockets, which is 1. This processor's got 6 cores, but it's got 12 logical processors, so this one will run fine, but you need to make sure that says 4. If it doesn't say 4 or higher, then it isn't going to work. So back to the game booster. It's very straightforward. You don't have to do anything for it to work. You just basically run the game and away it goes. We found it worked on everything we've tested, apart from one game. It negatively affected it. We've tested it on 2 separate machines, and both machines we got the same results, as in it did not work with it basically. But all the other results, on average, we got roughly around about a 5% performance increase, which is actually quite a bit if you think about it, that you're getting this game booster free in your security program. You're not paying any extra for it. It's not an extra program you've got to go out and buy. It's actually in there for free. The games we did actually try, we tried Total War Britannia, which is the new Total War game out there. We've tried it on 2 tests on Civilization 6, the turn time test, as well as the graphics frame rate test. We also tried it on 3D Mark Firestrike and 3D Mark Time Spy. We tried it on Company of Heroes 2 and Grand Theft Auto 5. Unfortunately, it was the Company of Heroes 2 which was negatively effective. We actually lost performance of more like round about 5 to 6% when the game mode was turned on than when it was off. But the advantage is, if you found that you did have a game which it did negatively affect, you can actually just disable the game mode in there, so you're not losing anything. Saying that, when we installed Bullguard, we also tested the games without Bullguard installed, so it was just running with standard Windows security, as well as running it with the security completely disabled, so Windows Defender was disabled. We actually found that when Bullguard was installed on the machine, when game mode was off, it didn't actually negatively affect the machine compared to when the security was totally turned off on the machine. So Bullguard, even if you've got game booster mode turned off, doesn't affect the performance. And obviously if you do turn the game mode on, then you get your bonus performance, and it does that again by moving all your processing tasks to 1 or 2 cores on the processor, so then all your other cores, or should I say logical processors, can then basically work solely on the game and concentrate on it without having to worry about doing other things, which can also stop sometimes where you get quite a few like spikes in games where suddenly the frame rate drops when it's loading something up. It helps stop that issue basically. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the machine we did the testing on. We actually did the testing on 2 separate machines, but I'm only giving you the scores for one of the machines. We decided to give the scores for a machine. It's a 2nd generation i7 processor. It's got 8 GB of 1600 MHz DDR3 memory, and it had a RX 570 graphics card in there as well. We ran each test 3 times, and each time we did a fresh restart of Windows to make sure nothing was interfering, like caching or anything like that. As you can see from the chart, Bullguard with the game mode on scored a lot higher than any of the other options. That's including if there was no security on the machine. When game mode was actually turned off, the score was basically the same as if there was no security on the machine. So when Bullguard was actually on the machine, it didn't actually negatively affect 3D Mark at all, and that's on both the 3D Mark Time Spy score and Firestrike. The next test we did was for Civilization 6. We tested the average frames per second as well as the turn time. We had one strange result. We found that if there was no security on the machine, the actual performance was drastically higher on the average frames per second, but the actual average turn time wasn't really affected as much. But saying that, with Bullguard actually game mode on, it still performed better than any of the other security suites installed. Grand Theft Auto 5 was where we saw the biggest performance increases with the Bullguard game mode on. It's nearly 5 frames per second quicker than, for example, Windows Defender, Norton and McAfee, still 4 frames faster than AVG. Even with the game mode off, it performed pretty well. Next game up was Total War Thrones of Britannia. Again, as you can see, game mode on Bullguard outperformed any of the other security programs and gave you a better performance. While it's not a huge amount of difference, there was a difference. With no security on the machine, it did work out at 0.1% faster, but generally it outperformed everything else. The last game we tested was Company of Heroes 2, and this was a strange one. Actually, the game mode on in this actually reduced the average frames per second. Even turning game mode off, it helped increase the frames per second slightly, but still nowhere near the competitors. So hard to say what was going on there, but unfortunately in Company of Heroes 2 the frame rate actually dropped quite drastically. But saying that, we're extremely pleased with Bullguard. It's done everything we want. You get all these extra things in with it, which, unlike some of the other security programs out there, you have to pay for extra. For example, you want to buy AVG, then you have to pay extra for the tune-up facility and pay extra for whatever else they want to send you. Whereas with Bullguard, it's all in, apart from obviously the identity protection and the network thing, what was in there. But otherwise, we're very happy with it, and we have awarded it the Tech for Tech's Gamers' Choice Award. If you enjoyed this review, please feel free to like us, give us a thumbs up, or subscribe depending on what platform you're looking at us on. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.